Hello, everyone, and welcome to Excel. We're going to be doing a little, you're going to be doing a lot of Excel work in the next month, basically from February 16, which is today, up until March 15, and then the Excel exam will be March the 16th. I wanted to start you guys off with a little recording. It'll, of course, be maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, maybe more, but hopefully in the 30 to 40-minute range. And its intention is to sort of do what I did last week in class, where I showed you how, as an example, to do a payment function, how I talked about using the fill handle, how I talked about using if statement logic, and I demonstrated those things just on a spur of the moment basis. And I'm going to do the same thing now, but with a, turn this into a video for you. And remember, this is not what you're going to be learning about in Excel, but everything from CGS 1060, meaning the basics or the introduction of Excel or to Excel, is part of the advanced portions of Excel, because you can't just start at chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, and chapter 8 without knowing what Excel is all about. And I know it's a difficult subject, so I just thought I would start with a nice, hopefully nice overview so that you can watch it 3 or 4 times. I'll be doing some formulas, like I said, but I'll also be doing things like the fill handle and things about creating a chart, just little things that'll get you ready for the material that I start talking about and demonstrating next week in class. All righty, so let's take my picture away, or my face away, I guess, and show what matters. All right, so now, let's see, where am I? Go here. I'll go in here anyway. So what I'm going to do is just open up Excel, okay? And I'll just open up the app. All right, so I want a blank workbook. Now, Excel workbooks have a file extension of .xlsx, okay? Period XLSX, like Word is period DOCX. Okay, so I mentioned to you in that little, ad hoc Excel introduction I did in class last week for 15 or 20 minutes, that basically this is Excel. There's a sheet 1 here by default. If I want, I can add a sheet 2, and I can add a sheet 3, and I can add a sheet 4. I can add a sheet 1099 if I want to, okay? And even though you see here from the letter A to Z here, and then after Z it's AA, and then AB and AC. Well, it continues AD, AE, AF, up to AZ. And then after that one is done, it goes to BA, and BB, and BC, and BD, up to BZ, and then CA, etc. And down here, the numbers, you only see 35. I'll just hit page down about 20 or 30 times. Let's see where I am. I'm at 3,151. And the bottom of the page, I'm at 3,185. Okay? So, in other words, in one Excel workbook, there are literally tens of thousands of available cells to use, and it may be hundreds of thousands. It just goes forever. Okay, so I shall do my control home, and hopefully it brings me back, and it did. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about some things. Again, this is introduction. I'm not starting with chapter 5. So if you want to select everything in the one sheet you're on, let's say I had 2 sheets, and I do the select all, which is to the left of the A and above number 1, meaning it's right here, then everything is selected, but it would only be for the current sheet, okay? I'm going to make the font size 20, just so you can kind of see it better as I type, and then you see the cells are now much larger, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and just talk again more about general things, but I'll talk about some things that are over here. So with the clipboard is still pretty well the same, because you can always copy, you can always paste, you can always cut. Let's just look in whatever else we might have down here. So this is just saying, because I've already got things copied in my computer, I always do, I can put some pasting here. So it says you can show the Office clipboard, show it when you're doing your, what I call shortcut keys, Control C in this case, without showing the clipboard. So, you know, the clipboard is pretty well the same. And of course, there's the undo and then the redo at the end. The font group is pretty well the same as well, but there is a borders property, because all of these cells, anytime you click a given cell, you're in a cell. But remember, there are literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cells in this sheet. It just goes forever. Okay. So Word doesn't have this option unless you're in a table. Well, in Excel, you don't have to be in a table, but you can play with borders if you want to. All right. Okay, and then of course there's the usual stuff with the fonts. That's all A-okay. There's the same fill color and the same text color. All that's the same. Now over here in the alignment group, there's quite a few differences, because everything is not just left aligned, center aligned, and right aligned. We also have positioning within the cell. So this thing here is a top align, so that if I'm using very, very, very tiny font, if I type something, then it'll show up at the top. You wouldn't see it in this computer, but let me actually go and make the font even larger for now. So let's get back up here and go here. Oh, let me shut that thing down. Let me go here, and I'm going to make the font 40 for a second, just to see what this is going to do. All right. So, and I'm going to just widen this one. To widen cells manually, you just put your cursor between the two cell letters where there's a little tiny line right there. And then you can drag to the left, you can drag to the right. Okay. Now I'm going to type Professor Maloney. So Professor Maloney. Now obviously you can't tell that that's bottom align. You wouldn't know if it was center align or middle align, and you wouldn't know if it was the top align with that size font. But now let's make it show it's the bottom. Now I'm going to make this font 10. Let's see if that changes it enough. So you see, you may not be able to see it because of my little video, but in any event, it says Professor Maloney on the bottom and then left, because it's automatically left justified side. So if I want to click over here, it's still on the bottom, but now it's right justified. If I click here, it's of course in the center. Now watch when I click, and again, I know you can't really see that. Let me make it bold and see if that helps. I'm not wanting to show all these things because this is not that big of a deal, but just to show you. So remember, this is a large font right now, not a small font, but a large cell. So if I want to make this center now, or middle align, that's this one. So watch what happens to Professor Maloney now. See, now it's up in the middle. Okay. And now let's bring it to the top. Now it's up at the top. Again, that was just to demo that. So now I'm going to go back to 20, which is the size I want. All right. Okay. And actually, even on 20, it is showing there. So let's go back here to this one, the middle, and this one, the bottom. Yeah. So you can see it all. All right. Okay. And again, left align. This is the middle align, or the center, and this is the right align. All right. Okay. Now, so that's more or less the alignment group. But there's also these things, wrap text. All right. Wrap text means if you want, let me just type Professor Maloney again. Okay. So technically, Professor Maloney fits in that cell. So let's shorten the cell. Okay. Shorten this one too. All right. Now you don't see Professor Maloney, you know, in this cell, except that I clicked wrap text, and I didn't mean to click it until after I did it. So I'm going to unclick it by clicking it again. So now you see Professor Maloney cannot fit in the confines of that cell. But wrap text does what you just saw. And as the definition here says, wrap extra long text into multiple lines so you can see all of it. So here it's only 2 words, but they're both relatively long. So I click wrap text, and now you see Professor Maloney fitting within this cell. Okay. All right. Now, merge in center is if you want to turn 2 or 3 cells into one. All right. So let's see here. Let's go ahead now and say that, first of all, I don't really want it this high anymore. So I'm going to go back here and do my select all and make this much smaller again. All right. So let's make these things here, go down to 10 just to force it to be tiny. But I'm going to really bring it back to 20. That other one there was 40, even though it didn't show changing, but it was 40. All right. So now, So if I type, let's say, a title that extends into two different cells, sometimes you don't want people to be able to click in both of the cells because you want that all blocked. Okay. Let's just actually do all these three. I'm going to type in here, advanced desktop application. I'll say CGS 2108, advanced desktop applications. Okay. Now, if I undo the wrap text by just clicking on it, now it's extending from left, excuse me, from left to right. Okay. And you can't even see, excuse me, the CGS 2108, I guess because I've got it on that. Let me do the left align there. The left align, you kind of see it, and it sticks over into the C. All right. Now, when I typed, remember I typed it in A1. You can tell I typed it in A1 because this stuff right up here, it's called the formula bar. But when you type something, it shows up in that formula bar. So I'm in A1, and that's what I typed in A1, even though it looks like I'm in B1 and C1 as well. But watch now, I click to put myself in B1, and there's nothing there because I didn't type this here. I typed it in A1. It's just that I'm not using wrap text, and what I typed takes more room than the cell. Okay, and it's now also not fitting in B1. So if I go to C1, you'll see it's also empty. When I say it, I'm talking about the formula bar because that's where the text would show. So there's nothing there for C1. Nothing there for B1, but in A1, it's all of it, okay? Now, what we sometimes do in Excel when that happens is we want something where the user cannot click. Like if I now type something else in this one, say test tonight, because you guys have a test tonight. Well, you may not have a test tonight. I'm not sure when I'm going to play this for you, but anyway. So now cell B1 has test tonight. Well, cell A1 still has CGS 2108 space dash space advanced desktop applications. But now it can't fit and it can't be shown in B1 because B1 has its own text property. Okay. And then if I type something in C1, then if B1 or A1 extended over there, it wouldn't go either. All right. Okay. So to show you what to prevent this, what we sometimes do is this. So I want A, B, and C, let's say, to show up as only one cell, meaning it's all A1. Here's how I do it. There's a merge and center button. Okay, so merge and center, it says combine and center the contents of the selected cells in a new larger cell. This is a great way to create a label that spans multiple columns. So let's call this a label. Okay, and if I click merge and center, just click it like that, it automatically did. I also could have done the down arrow and done it different ways, okay? But I did the merge and center, and again, it tells you combine and center the contents. I could have done it merge across. If I had done it, maybe it'd tell me something about what it is, but in any event. Now the difference is this though, watch. You still see B and you still see C, meaning column B and column C. But if I want to click in C1, I can't. See? I'm clicking it. Well, now actually I did click it, but it's not going to let me do anything in there. Oh, so, well, let's see, I'm wrong. What's going on here? All right, let's just do it this way. A1, you see the border, that green border? I click though in A1, and over here in the name box, it's called the name box. It shows A1, and it puts the cell for it. Let me show you A2. See, A2 is just a single cell. B2, C2. But now let me click B1. There is no B1. But it's A1, okay? There is no C1, but it's A1. So even though it's letting me double click in here, I guess you can just double click and edit it if you want to, but it's still one cell now, okay? One cell, which means if you're wanting if you don't want anyone to be able to change what you've done, you want that label to extend across and not, let me undo again, click it one more time, and then come over here and type in this one and type, oh, wow, and have oh wow go over that, you just do your merge and center. Okay. Oops, sorry, you have to identify what you're centering. So this is the merge and center. All right. Okay. So let's undo that. But these things are just for you guys to use as need be. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead And so that's more or less the font group, the clipboard, the alignment. All right. So you know wrap text, that's important. Merge and center, that's important. But you can also do other cool things. Like here we see this AB, it's at a 45-degree angle. That's a cool thing. It's like your orientation on the text. Watch what happens when I click this AB button to this text. Oops, sorry. Okay. So now it's saying, do you want to angle the text in a counterclockwise fashion? Counterclockwise, where that arrow is, meaning this one right here, this is 45 degrees. 45 is half of 90. So the way, if you envision this as a circle, okay, and a line through exactly the middle of the circle, and then a line from top to bottom through the exact center, then you have 4 different quarters of the circle, and each would be 90 degrees. Okay, so if you envision that, what I'm saying here. So you can do an angle clockwise, angle counterclockwise. You can do literally vertical text, rotate, all that. Watch. I'll just do angle counterclockwise. Okay. See, it turned all that whole set of everything I typed in A1, because I didn't just pick one word. I you know, whatever was in the cell was going to do this. Okay, and it did that. So if I want to change it the other way now, it'll start at the top and come down. And that's all these things are doing. All right, that's all they're doing. But normally the angle counterclockwise is what you do, but you wouldn't normally do it for this. But if you have something that you just want to sort of bring attention to, and it only was, let's say, like CGS 2108, then it fits in the cell in a nice fashion, and it brings attention to it because of the angle. So if maybe it's special headings that you want people to see, but not like this, where it's this big, okay? But anyway, that's what that one does. And then over here, decreasing indent and increasing indent, you guys have had that from in Word. In Word, you know, we do it to do things with the bulleted lists and stuff like that. And indent a table, indent something under a bulleted list. All right, so I'm going to undo that a few times because I don't need that there. All right, okay, now the number group is perhaps the most important in Excel because there's so many things in Excel. So let's go ahead and talk about this one now. Let's see, I'm doing something here on my phone for a quick second. Look at something my son sent me. Okay. Yeah. All right, okay, now, so the number group is very important. So let's go down here and put a few, let's actually put some information actually. So instead of this still being at this huge size, I'm going to go back here again and make it 10, just so I can come back to 20 and have it the right size for 20. And now make it 20. I don't know why they're all that wide right now. I did something. Anyway, it won't matter, right? So I'm going to delete this though, right? Now, down here, I'm going to type, remember what I did with the payment function in class, or a few of you might remember. I did a payment function, but I want to first start with some simple calculations again, because remember, that's what Excel is for the most part all about, all right? So let's put in here, let's see, let's say product, price, quantity. Then if you multiply price times quantity, that would be like subtotal. And let's say tax rate. And then to get the order total, you'd add subtotal plus tax rate, well, plus taxes. So actually I need to first get taxes, and then let's say order total, okay? All right, now I'm not gonna be able to demonstrate the 3 or 4 different products, so it's only literally gonna be one thing at a time. So let's just say, let's say you're buying, say 12-pack Diet Mountain Dew. All right. Now, so that I can leave that there, but without wrapping the text, I'm just going to make this a wider cell. Okay. And you do that again just by clicking between the borders that separate each of these columns. So if I wanted to do it between B and C, it'd be right here. Okay. That was between A and B. Okay, now what you're going to notice is that, well, what you probably already noticed, text like product left justifies automatically. If you put in a number or a price, it'll right justify automatically. So let's say a 12-pack of Diet Mountain Dew costs, these days it probably costs $5.99 or something. So I'll say $5.99. Okay, you see how it right justified? I didn't do that. And now let's do quantity. And let's say you buy 2 of those. Okay, so it right justifies. Now, to get the subtotal, we have to multiply $5.99 times 2. So in Excel, the way we do that is equal. Excuse me for a quick second. No, you know what? I'm going to. Let me see. Hello? Yes, hello? No, sorry, Jason. I don't have any time. Bye. I'm sorry. Energy advocate. Sorry, I'm expecting a new freezer today. That's why I had to absolutely get that. Okay, so equal starts the formula. Okay, I normally do them with equal sum. Sum is a function. Anytime you type some letters after an equal sign, you're typing a function. And most of the functions will then pop up as choices. There are millions of functions in formulas, okay? But equal sum is a commonly used function. So when you use a function, you then need to have an open parenthesis, okay? So equal sum, open parenthesis, and then it's saying number 1, and then a comma, and then there's a bracket around number 2. That means that's optional. And then a comma, period, 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 meaning if you want to put in more numbers, and then you close it with the closing parenthesis, okay? I just want to take this number, $5.99, and times it by 2. But you don't times it, you don't type them in over here in a formula, because then if this price changes or if the quantity changes, the subtotal will always be wrong, right? So you base it on the cell, not what's in the cell. So I'm going to say equal sum B3. So B3, I type it in, and then B3 is selected. See, this is column B, okay? This is row 3. And so over here, sorry, it then, it erased that. So what it's saying now is equal sum B3. Well, that's that one, obviously, but I don't want that. I want equal sum B3 times. Times in Excel, hopefully you remember, is an asterisk, okay? And I want to times it by C3. So C3, and then I close my parenthesis, okay? So that is now the answer. So 2 times $5.99 equals $11.98, okay? Now, let's put in a tax rate, and I'll just say 0.0675%, okay? That's going to be this tax rate that I'm saying we're going to use. So now I want to find out, well, how much is the taxes on my $11.98 order? So I multiply the $11.98 times this tax rate. But again, I don't times it by $11.98. I want to say the cell. So it's D3, okay? So tax rate and then taxes. So equal sum, open parenthesis. And this time, instead of typing D3, I'm going to show you a better way. It's point and click. So I just point and click right there, and look what happens. D3 pops up automatically. So that's an easier way to do it. And then you still have to type the asterisk for multiplication. And then instead of typing E3, E for the column, 3 for the row, I'll just point and click again. See, I point and then I click. And now I'm done, but I need to close the parenthesis, right? Open parenthesis is over here after equal sum. So then I just make it a closed parenthesis and I enter. So now they're saying taxes is 80 cents. 0.80 up 1 is 80.8 cents, okay? Now I want an order total. So what is the order total going to be? Well, it's going to be the subtotal, right, minus the taxes. So over here, I shall say equal sum, open parenthesis, subtotal by pointing and clicking, minus is subtraction, and I want to subtract the taxes. And then I close my parenthesis, and that's the answer. Okay, so that one product, right there, we did 3 calculations. One, the subtotal by multiplying the contents of cell B3, which I'm calling the price cell, times the quantity cell, or named C3, C for the column, 3 for the row, okay? And that gave us this, so that was one multiplication. Then we took this answer, the 1198, so we said equal sum, in this case, D3, equal sum, open parenthesis, D3, times the asterisk, and then E3, and close the parenthesis, and then that result is right here. And then I did a third calculation right here to take the subtotal, which was from the first calculation, but after that calculation, and then subtracting not the tax rate, but the actual taxes, because the tax rate we multiplied against the subtotal to give us the taxes. Okay, and then we took subtotal and, oh, I minused it. I have to add the taxes, obviously. So subtotal plus taxes. Because the store is not going to subtract taxes from us. They're making us pay the taxes. So the subtotal was $11.98. Taxes were 80 cents. And that makes the order total $12.78. Okay. Now, another thing you know that stores aren't going to do is show 0.78865, because we only have cents. And that means 1 penny, 2 penny, 3 penny, 4 penny. You can't have 2.2 pennies. Now, in financial calculations, though, companies would always use tons of decimal places, because even though it may only be a few cents on a big order, but with millions of big orders over the course of a year, a big corporation could lose thousands or tens of thousands or more of money if they don't account for these calculations correctly. All right. But anyway, so I want to now take away 2 decimal places on this one. And I also want to take it away on this one. And I also want to take it away on this. Well, I don't want to take it away on that one. So that one and that one. Okay. So I selected them both. And then I come up over here in this number box. Okay. And if I click on this or hover on this one, it'll say increase decimal. That means show even more decimal. So this one says decrease decimal. So I want to decrease 0.78865 to get it down to 0.7, what will amount to being 9. Watch. Okay, so there it's 789, but if I do one more, it's going to round up to 79. Okay, it's going to round it up to 79. So that's what we would want to see. And normally this we're going to want to see in a dollar sign. So we would click on this dollar sign up here. That's the accounting number format, and watch what happens to 1198 when I do. Now it's got a dollar sign, but the dollar sign is way on the left. It goes as wide as the cell and then gives all them blank spaces but the 1198. And then for order total, I also want that. Okay, so that. And then for the tax rate, I want to put it in a percentage instead of leaving it that way. That's too confusing to people. So I leave it this way, but then I click on the percent. And as I click on the percent, it's going to change it to what it wants to do based on rounding. Okay, but if you look up here in the formula bar, it says 6.75%. That's up here. Okay, 6.75%. But in here, in here, it's 7%. Okay, but I want to increase its cell to show the actual percent. So in this case, I now want to increase the decimal. So when I click it once, it rounds it to 6.8. I don't want to round it. Okay, so then it's 6.75. That's what I wanted to show, right? And I should also have the price with a dollar sign. So let's put a dollar sign on that one. Okay, all right. So now let's say we have a few more products. Let's say we have dozen eggs, and they cost, we'll say 2.88. All right. How many eggs do we want to buy? Let's say we want to buy 3 dozen. Okay, 3 dozen. So now I have the price, I have the quantity, and now I want to get the subtotal. Remember the fill handle? Okay. But before I do that, let me also copy this one down. So I'm just going to take this fill handle here. Remember the fill handle is the thin green square at the bottom right side of the cell. So if I click it and drag it down, because there's nothing else in it, it's going to put 6.75% here as well. Okay. And this dollar sign, I really want to keep the accounting format as well. So I should have done that for down here, but I'll do that stuff another time. So I'll just manually do that. All right. Okay. So I need to get a calculation of 288 times 3. Now it's already done here, remember. So again, though, I can take the fill handle. Look at what this formula shows. You know you're selected when you see a border around the cell. So this says equal sum, open parenthesis, B3 times C3. Okay, so that is what it's giving us right here. Now, if I want to now multiply B4 instead of B3, remember here it's B3, okay, and C3, which is this one. Now I want for here it to be B4, because this is row 4, so B4 times C4. Well, if I use the fill handle, it'll automatically adjust the B3 times C3 to B4 times C4. Watch. Take the fill handle, drag it down 1, and voila. You always test things though, because you don't trust anything except yourself. So if you multiply 3 times 2, that gives us 6. Well, that's not 864. But then if we multiply 3 times 80, not 88, but 80, that's 240. Okay, so 240 plus 6, which was 2 times 3, is 840. That's still not 864, Professor. No, but then there's 3 8s or 24, the last 3. So 840 and 24 is 864. So this calculation here is correct, and we didn't do it. We just copied it from the fill handle, and the fill handle did it. Okay. Now, taxes is another calculation. Remember, equal sum, open, D3 times E3 close. Now I want to copy that one down. So I take the fill handle, and it's going to calculate it now based on this subtotal. Look, this subtotal is in cell D4, okay? The tax rate is in E4, and over here it's going to say now D4 times E4, even though up here it says D3 times E3. Okay, it's very important to understand what I'm doing, guys. But this is old, meaning this is from your CGS 1060, probably the first week, for sure the second week or third week, whatever. Anyway, so now to get the order total, we take the subtotal plus taxes. So again, I can do it this way, but it's good to also remind you how to do addition. So let's say equal sum, open, and then point and click at the subtotal, put a plus sign, plus is addition, and then you don't add the tax rate. Remember, the tax rate, we multiplied against the subtotal to get the taxes. So now we want the taxes. So, and you see, they don't type, when I click on them, it doesn't say 864 and 0.58. It says the cell address, right? That's because if I change this, you don't want to change the subtotal, but if I change this price or this quantity, then this will change. If I change this tax rate, then this will change. If I change any of them, then this last one will also change. Okay, so I'll close that and do it that way. So, and again, verify though, 864 and 50. So 860 and 50 get you to 910. Okay, 910 and 4 get you to 914. 914 and this 8 gets us to 922. So the math is right again. All right. So let's just have 2 more things here, and then we shall end this part, but I'm going to do more. So let's now say my wife enjoys Canadian salmon. Canadian salmon, and we'll say steak, even though our boys prefer salmon fillet. But anyway, so we'll say Canadian salmon steak. That, if you're lucky, you'll get it for about $6.99 a pound, but it's a lot more than that at most stores. Okay, and we like a lot of it, so we want 4 pounds of it. We'll say that. So now I got to calculate those things out. So let's again do it with the fill handle this time. So I take this fill handle. I have to multiply $6.99 times 4. So anyone knows 4 sevens are 28, and 4 times 1 is 4 cents. So 28 less 4 is $27.96. Or I can take the fill handle, drag it down, and it'll show $27.96. Okay. Tax rate, again, let's just copy it down, down. Now, let's do the calculation. This one times this one is going to give us taxes. This time, the taxes will be a little higher. It'll be 279 if it was 10%. It'd be 138 if it was 5%. It's a little bit in between, so I'll just say 138 and I'll just say 40. 178 I'll just predict, but it won't be right. It'll be, you know, sort of close. 189, okay? So that, and then we want to take this, and this one I'll manually do again. So equal sum, this subtotal, and then the plus sign, and then the taxes, and then the close, and now we enter. Okay, so now we got three different items in our order. Okay, we have three different quantities, and we have, of course, different prices and different whatever else, but I'm going to want to do a chart to show some of these things. Okay, so let's just say this is all we want. So if that's all we want, now we want to get the totals on only certain things. So what do you think we would want to get totals for? Would we want to get a total of the three different prices? No, that'd be ludicrous, because $5.99 plus $2.88 plus $6.99 as a total doesn't do anything. That's just telling us 12 packs of Diet Mountain Dew cost this much money. A dozen eggs cost this much money. A pound, I didn't put a pound, but anyway, a pound of Canadian salmon steak costs this much money. Okay, so quantity, would I maybe want to know quantity? Maybe. So I might want to put a total for quantity here. Would I want to know the subtotal? Yeah, sure. I might want to know the subtotal. I don't want to know the tax rate because it's the same all the time. Although I could put it down actually just to leave it there. I could. But for sure I want to know the total of taxes, and for sure I want to know the total of the individual order totals. Okay. All right. So let's do it. So now I'm going to use that auto sum that I showed you guys in class last week. So in Excel, as I said at that time last week, if you want to add up any given number of set of numbers, in other words, right here, there's three numbers. So if I go to the cell under it, okay, and I click on auto sum, or I click on the auto sum down arrow, I can do either a sum, an average, a count of numbers, a max, a min, and even more functions. I want to know the total of this, which means I want the sum. So I'll click on the sum. Okay. When you click on the sum, Excel is thinking. That's what this thing is called. It's called a rolling marquee. It doesn't stay until you enter it, because it doesn't know whether this is right or not yet, because it made this decision, not us. So it's saying, Excel's thinking, I think you want to add the numbers from C3. Here's column C. Here is row 3. Here's row 4. And here's row 5. So it's saying, I think you want from C3 to C5. You could put C3 plus C4 plus C5. Yes, you could. But normally in Excel, we wouldn't do that, because if there's more than two, just put a colon to separate them. All right. So equal sum, open parenthesis, C3 colon C5. So now if I enter that to say I accept it, then right down below will be the total. And if you see 2 and 3 is 5 and 4 is 9, that's 9. So it's right. Okay. I also, if I wanted to, could put a border under that number 4 from here, and then click away. And you see now it's sort of like segregating it a little bit, meaning the 9, we understand the 9 is something more than just those. Okay. All right. So we want to do the same with subtotal. So we can come down here and we want to know the total of all those amounts added together. So again, we can click this auto sum and do it this way, but we can also manually do it. Again, we'd say equal sum, open, and then click this one if you want, okay? And then drag the fill handle down so that you get the other ones. Oh, wait, let's see. Let's escape out of that. All right, what did I say? Yeah, so equal sum up here, and then just actually drag down. So just drag them down like that, and then you get the same answer, except of course it won't be 9 this time, it'll be these 3 things. Okay, so you should always verify with a calculator, especially when you're doing things for the first time, and just to make sure they work. So let's just go the old-fashioned addition where you start on the right and you move towards the left. So 8 and 4 is 12, 12 and 6 is 18, 18 and 6 is, wait, 8 and 4 is 12, 12 and 6 is 18, and then 8. So 18 and 8 is 26. So it should end in a 6 here. Because it's a 26, I have to carry 2. So this last number will be a 6. Carry 2. So 9 and 2 is 11. 11 and 6 is 17. 17 and 9 is 26. 26 and 5 is 31. So it'll be 1, 6. And it's 31, so we carry 3. 3 and 1 is 4, and 8 is 12, and 7 is 19, and 8 is 27. So now it's 7.36, I think, 7.36. And I forget what this one was now. I'm not going to worry about doing that anymore. But anyway, so here I'll just do the, actually, I'll just show you the old-fashioned math again. So this way, equal sum, open, and then take these numbers. I've already done this one, silly me. Now I just went down below. I didn't need it there because I'd already had it here. I meant to do it for this one. All right, but this one I'll do the auto sum again, right? Just to show you different ways of doing it to help you get ready for it. So sum, yes, we want from F3 to F5, enter it. So 189, 180 and 50 is 230, 230 and 80 is 310, 311, 319, and 9 is 328. And then we want the same with order total, right? So order total, this we'll do the other way again, equal sum from here to there, and close and enter. All right. All right. And now we want, let's say, $sign there. We already have, that's enough. So I'm not going to worry too much about everything else now. But now what I want to do is show you how we can put these things in a chart. Now, how much of this would I want to put in a chart? Well, I don't necessarily need everything, but I don't want to show everything anyway, because I want to show you how you can do a chart with only certain columns. Like if I want, I can put these in the chart, and maybe not the price, but maybe the quantity of each, and then maybe the subtotal, maybe the tax rate, and maybe the order total. But that probably looks kind of weird. I don't really know. So let me just show you a confusing way. So I'm going to insert a chart. Okay, so insert, and then the charts are over here in this middle group. Okay, let's say we want to do, what do you guys want? Are you guys going to want a column, a 2D column, a 3D column, a 2D bar, or a 3D bar? Right now, since I haven't selected anything, nothing shows up. So let me first select everything again. So if I select these things here, you're going to see that this is a mess. It will not look good. Right? So I'll come over here and I'll say a 3D column chart. Okay, that's what it looks like. But look at this confusion. So it's got product, but there's nothing there. Why? Because products are names. So they're not going to, there's nothing there going to do anything for us. Then it's got prices. Okay, but the prices are based on the colors for each of these products. So I'd have to go in here and look at which one is which to figure out what all these things mean. But really, what would you normally want? You'd want the order total, right? You want the order total. You might want to know the products, but the products may not cooperate this way very well. But everything you want to do, you can put here. And these are saying series because they don't know what to put for them. But what I could then do is edit the series to put for the blue one that it's going to be Mountain Dew. For the next one, it's going to be series 2, whatever. It's going to be, oh, so what they're doing actually, because I also selected the word product, they're giving us 4. That's why we have 4 series. So product is the first one. Series 2 is 12-pack Mountain Dew. Series 3 is dozen eggs. And series 4 is Canadian salmon steak. But in other words, this kind of a chart, I purposefully did this. So you see, it's just kind of ludicrous. Okay, it doesn't really make sense. So let's go ahead and delete that one. Okay, and go back and do something different. Now let's say we want the same 4, even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense maybe. And then we'll go over here to the order total. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh, and so how do you do that? If you want to do columns, this is a column and this is a column. But we don't want column B, column C, column D, or column E. I just want G and A. So you click, you select, drag it down, select it. Then you hold your control key on a Windows computer. On a Mac, I don't know which key you'd hold, but one that's for, if not like the shift where it's everything in between. I want only this with the other. Now watch, this chart's still not going to be that good because it doesn't, sometimes charts don't make sense based on what you're doing. So I'll do the same one, a 3D column. Okay, now we have order total, but look at order total. It's like there's a 1279, there's a 922. It can't show the others, but it's giving all these things differently, right? So you see, charts are only good when charts make sense. Okay, so that really, really would not make a lot of sense. Okay, but it's easy to insert a chart, right? So the question is, what would you really want to do on these to make sense? Since I only did this to demonstrate some of the Excel features, I want to keep going and put two other things I did for you last week in here just to add more to this, and then I'll do a little chart at the end. Okay, so here I want to now do that payment function which I demonstrated last week. Okay, so payment function example for purchasing a car. All right, so we'll say car price, down payment, interest rate, number months to pay off car, monthly payment, total off payments. Okay, so these are the things I showed you. Just because I've done this so many millions of times, I just know them. But if you don't know them, I'll talk about it when we get there. So here I'll just say I want to move over a couple spots. So in this one, I want to put a car price. Okay, I'll just say $22,999. Okay, so $22,999. Now again, if I want this thing to show with a dollar sign and commas, all I got to do is click in my home area, home tab, the dollar sign. Okay, and then down payment. Let's say we're going to put down $2,000. So I'll just say $2,000. Now, because I already have one with a dollar sign, I don't normally want everyone with a dollar sign, but maybe here I want a comma. The comma is this thing. It's exactly the same. It'll add the two decimal places. Okay, it'll add a comma. It'll add a period before the decimal places, but it won't add the dollar sign. So watch, comma. It's called the comma style. Okay, that. So now that's there. That makes sense. Interest. Oh, I spelled interests. Interest rate. Okay. I did 6.75 here, but normally on a car, everyone's going to get a much better deal. But you guys are young, so I'll just say you get a decent deal, but not necessarily great. So I'll say 0.0499. In all honesty, many of you might have to pay 7 or 8 or 9 or 10%. God knows. So let's actually make this 0.0799 just in case. All right. Okay. And again, so what you do is you always put in an interest rate with all the decimal places. Like it takes 2 decimal places for this thing here to be 7%. If I did it as 0.799, that would be 79.9% interest. Okay. With the 2 decimal places here, it's 0 and 7, so it's 7.99. So that is what I want. Okay, and this one is that. But I want to show it as a percent sign. So I click up here, and it then flips it. It'll always flip it to a solid number, but then remember we can add decimals also from up here in the percentage group. That, and here I want to show the decimals. Okay. All right, number of months to pay off the car. So again, normally it's 12 months if you want to pay something off in 1 year. Not many people can pay off a car in 1 year. 24 months if you want 2 years. Not many people can pay off a car in 2 years. 36 months if you want 3 years. These days, not many people can pay off a car in 3 years. Okay, so even though it's not the most expensive car in the world, it's still going to cost quite a bit. So I'll say 4 years though, and 4 times 12 is 48. So in this case, I can just multiply that out. If you don't know it though, then you could put it in as years, and then in the formula times the years times 12. Okay, but I'll put 48, which means 4 years. Because there's 12 months in a year. So 4 times 12 is 48, which means it's 4 years. Okay, now we have the information here. So now we want to calculate the monthly payment. So this one here is going to be a formula, and then this one here is going to tell us the grand total payments at the end. So in this one, instead of equal sum, I use equal PMT, which is a payment function. Okay, payment function with an open parenthesis. And now after my open parenthesis, there's some arguments. Some are required and some are optional. The ones in brackets are optional. So this one here is saying equal payment rate. Rate. Rate means interest rate. Okay, so interest rate is 7.99, but that's for a year. We pay it off every month. So what I'm going to say is point and click. So I'll point and click on this. All right. So we're saying the interest rate is 7.99% by clicking in cell C11. All right. But we're going to divide that. And division in Excel is a forward slash. And we're going to divide it by 12. Why? Because we make our payments every month. So we're not paying 7.99% interest. We're paying 7.99 divided by 12. Okay. All right. So that, and then that finishes the interest rate. So now I put a comma, and now rate's not in bold anymore. Now N per is in bold. N per stands for number of periods. These days we say number of payments. Well, what's the number of payments? Well, it's this one. So I just point and click at that one. Okay. So C12 is that. Now the next one is present value. PV stands for present value. So I do a comma, and now I click on the present value. So what is, in other words, the loan we're taking out? That's what this means. Well, this is the cost of the car, but we're paying $2,000 down. So we subtract that instead of add it. So we click on C9, which is car price, and then put a dash, which is a minus sign, and then point and click at the down payment. Okay. And then we're done. So we close the parenthesis. All right. The only thing I didn't do is put it equal minus PMT, because equal minus PMT will make the number in black with it. This way, the number will be in red. Watch. See? So the payment would be $512.55 per month for 48 months to buy our $22,999 car after we put down $2,000 based on a 7.99% interest rate. Okay. But normally we don't want a negative number. So again, I said this last week when I did the little demonstration. How do you get rid of a negative from your high school math days? Well, a minus up a minus turns it into a positive. So instead of equal payment and then all those things, I'm going to say equal minus payment. Minus up a minus will turn it into a positive, but the number will be the same. Right? So watch. Equal, and I'll put the cursor between the equal and the P, and now I type in a dash, meaning a minus, and that's exactly the same number, but now it's in quote unquote black text, which is what normally we like to see. If we see things in red, that scares us, so no one would buy it. But anyway, so that is the amount of money you'd pay every month if you were buying a car for $23,000 and you were putting $2,000 down. But we want to verify. Actually, your mother would want to verify, or maybe your father would want to verify. Maybe if you're married, your spouse would want to verify because they don't want you to get cheated. So now I want to, in effect, multiply this times this, okay, to figure out how much we're paying after all our payments are all done. But we also got to add in the $2,000 we already put down, right? So equal sum, open. Click on this cell. This cell here is C13, which is what you're seeing up there. Okay, times, that's an asterisk. Point and click at the number of months. Okay, and then you can say plus, and then click on this, because even though you're not paying that off every month, but you've already paid for it. In other words, you gave the $2,000 to the dealer on day one. So when you're figuring out the total of your payments, well, you got to make sure you darn well get that back. You know, you account for your down payment too. So equals C13 times C12 plus C10, and you need to open and a closing parenthesis and enter. So it cost us $26,600 for this $22,999 car. In other words, there's $3,603.32 of interest on the loan. Okay. Now you might say, "Wow, that's pretty cool, Professor." But what you need to understand is the way I did everything. You can redo this at any other interest rate, any other car price, any other down payment, any other interest rate, any other number of payments, and get a different version of that. In other words, if you then go check another car price, maybe that one's a little bit too expensive. Let's say mom or dad say, that's a little too expensive. Let's chop down the other by $3,000. Okay, so now I'm going to make this $19,999. Well, obviously the price is going to come down a little bit, so the interest rate will come down a little bit, right? So remember, right now it says $22,999. Watch, $19,999. And now once I enter that, everything else will change based on the formulas. See, now it's $439. Okay, so it was 512 or something before. It's come down 61 and 12, 73 or so bucks because the car costs less. Okay, but that's what I want you to get out of this. If you multiply these things without the formulas, like right here in my calculation, this thing right here, let me copy this into a Word document. Control copy, open up a Word document. I could have done it in Notepad, silly me. Let me just put it in Notepad. That's all right. Now that I've got it. No. File, new blank. Make this. All right. Control V, the formula. Okay. That's still not big enough. Let's make it a little bit bigger again. 20. Okay. So that's the formula. But look at what is C11? What is C12? What is C9? And what is C10? Okay. They're cell addresses. Okay. So they're a cell address. And the cell addresses, tell us where those values came from. But the fact that I didn't type in numbers, that's the key. Okay, that's the key. I didn't type in numbers. All right. And by not typing in numbers, now if I change the down payment, let's make it a bigger down payment. That means this price will come down, the payment will come down more. So let's make it $3,000 instead of $2,000. Remember, $439.32. I just changed the down payment from $2,000 to $3,000. Look at $439.32, and see, now it came down $25 more a month, but it's because I put down $1,000 more. So with the cheaper car, $1,000 more on the down, the price has come down from $511 something to $414. So it's like $100 a month cheaper for 48 months because we're not spending as much. But on the flip side of that, what if you then get a promotion? You guys graduate from college, you get a decent job, you work for a year, you get an increase, you work another year, you get another increase, and you say, wow, I want to buy a nice car. So then you say, I want to buy one for $34,999. Now look what happens to these payments. Boom. Now the payment's $781 again. You may say, well, who cares? I'm making $60,000 a year. Well, $60,000 is not going to pay for an apartment and a car that costs that much. That's for sure. And a family, and whatever other things you have to pay for, insurance, AC, FP&L type things, phones, clothes, food, rent, whatever. All right. So, but the point is, again, see, because this formula here is based on this here, based on this here, meaning cell addresses. If the cell address data changes, then the formula changes. Whereas if I had multiplied this times 7.99 times 48, well, if this changes to 60, it's still basing it on 48. If you change this to 6.99, but the formula is based on a hard number of 7.99, well, it's not going to change, right? So it's important to understand that the reason we use cell formulas is because of stuff like this. All right. Okay. Now let's say we want to again demonstrate the little if statement logic. Okay. If statement is logic, meaning you're just doing something. And I mentioned how to do this, but I'll show you this too, just to say convert numeric grades to letter grades using if statement logic. Okay, so here we'll say assignment 1. Okay, and we'll put here numeric grade. We'll put here letter grade. All right, and so we'll say this is Windows 10 exam. Let's say you got a 92 on it. Let's say now Word exam. Word exam. Let's say you get an 86 on it. Okay, so we have two assignments. We want to convert this 92 to an A, B, C, D, or an F. Well, we know a hard number 92 means an A, but I want to make it where if I change the 92 to an 86 or an 88 or a 52 or whatever, the letter grade will automatically change. So I don't want to use the value here. Instead, I want to use the cell address, B18, right? B and 18. So this is there, all right? Okay, so equal if, and then it brings up what's called a logical test. The logical test is this number greater than or equal to 90? In Professor Maloney's classes, I round 89.5, 79.5, 69.5, and 59.5 up by a half point to get them to the higher grade, right? But it's only a half point. So equal if this thing here, again, I don't type 92 because then you're hard coding it, meaning it can never change the number. So if B18 is greater or equal, normally you'd say 90, but I say, like I said, I like to give you guys a little bit, so I'm giving you half point. Okay, so if B18, meaning 92, is greater than or equal to 89.5, that's the logical test. Then I'd put a comma, and then after the comma, now I'm in this value if true. So if that is true, meaning this number is 89.5 or higher, the 92 I'm talking about, then obviously that means it's an A. So double quote, capital A, double quote. But what if it's not greater than or equal to that? Well, then another if, okay? Same cell, this one, B18. But now greater equal, and instead of 89.5, 79.5. In other words, giving the person a B. Double quote, so you put the comma, right? After you get the condition, the logical test, you put the comma, and then if it's true, in other words, if the score is 79.5 or higher, you want to now give them a B. Double quote, B, double quote. At least one of you should have said, wait a minute, professor, but a 92 is also greater than or equal to 79.5. I'm confused. How does it know which one is which? Well, you always start with the toughest. Like if 89.5 is a higher score than 79.5. So if this number is higher than this, it's already going to be true. So it doesn't go to these others. But if this one is false because it's not 89.5, let's say it's 88.5 or 88.1 or 80.1, whatever, then that one will be false and it'll go to this one then. This is like the second one. It's saying, okay, so it wasn't 89.5 or higher. What if it's 79.5 or higher? In this case, it'd say, yeah, it's true. So it assign the letter B, okay? But if it's not, another if. And every time you have a new if, you have an open parenthesis. But you only put one equal, and that's before the first if. So here, if again, you can point and click at this one again. And now greater than or equal 69.5, comma, double quote, double C, a capital C, double quotes. So is the number greater than or equal to 69.5? If it is, it's only going to handle up until 79.4 because we already have 79.5, which would have been passed in the second condition. And if it was the highest condition, it would have been passed over here, so it wouldn't get over here, okay? All right, so if it's that. But if it's not, you have to account, see, for every scenario in your formulas in Excel. So what are the scenarios? Well, for letter grades, it's either A, B, C, D, or F. I mean, in our school anyway, maybe there's a G, maybe there's a whatever. But in our school, and most, it's A, B, C, D, or F. So now I want to account for the D's. So D is going to be, again, B18. So this one here, if that's greater than or equal, in this case, I'll say 59.5. Technically, it needs to be 60, but I'm a nice guy. Then let's give the person a capital D, okay? And then what if that one's not true? Well, then we say if, and again, this, B18, greater equals 0, comma, double quote, F, double quote. So now we've accounted for every number between 0 and 100. And technically, because I didn't put a cap, they can still get 102 or 110 or 120. And you might say, well, that's not right. No, it's not. But I could cap it. If I want to, I can say if B18 greater than or equal 89.5 and B18 less than or equal 100 is how I would do it. Okay. But anyway, so look at these open parentheses. I have an open parenthesis at the beginning, equal if open. B18. So that's one open parenthesis. Then after the next if, there's a different color, but it's open parenthesis as well. It's 2. Then after the next if, another open, so that's 3. After the next if, there's another open parenthesis, that's 4. After the next, there's another, that's if, okay? That's 5. So now I need 5 closing open parentheses, 5 closing parentheses. Excuse me a second again. Hello. Hello. Yes. Thank you. Okay. I got to end this soon. Okay. So now I have to close it with 5 parentheses. So closing parenthesis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why 5? Because I had 5 opens. Now when I enter, it's going to put an A because a 92 is an A. But look over here now. Watch. I'll make this an 88. It'll flip to a B. I'll make it a 77. It'll flip it to a C. I'll make it a 66. It'll flip it to a D. I'll make it a 54. It'll flip it to an F. Okay. And then I use the fill handle. What's the fill handle? The bottom right corner, right where I'm hovering right here, where you see that little green separate square on the bottom right of the cell. You go on top of it until you see a plus sign, basically a thin black plus sign, and you drag it down. And see, that one's a B. And remember I told you numbers right justify, text left justifies. So what I would then do is this and this and this, and now use this middle alignment up here. That's better. Okay. So that's that one again. Now, I really don't have time because these people are going to be coming. But so I had mentioned to you, what would we do if we're really looking for some data? Well, when you're talking about charts, here's the data we would be talking about. So I'm going to do this in 10 more minutes. So I'm going to say monthly sales. Right? So I want to put the months. And we'll pretend it's the beginning of the year. So we have January. And then I want, let's say I want the first 6 months. So January, February, March, April, May, June. So click, as long as you spell January right, then you hover over that little thin green square in the bottom corner of the thing, of the cell, and drag it down 5 times. And as you drag it once, you see February to the bottom right of my screen, of my cursor. Now March, April, May, June, and I want just through June. So I let go and see they're there. All right. Now let's put here sales. Okay, and I'll just say 58 4 112, 69 587, 52 3 5 4. Let's see, that's 3, 44 982, 61 852. That's all but June. And then here I'll say 49 494. Okay. All right. So I've got sales and I've got the months. Now this is how I would really do one if I'm wanting to use it in a chart, use a chart with, okay, something that makes sense. And normally I would center all this. So I'm just going to take all this and center all of it. Okay, it's just me. Okay. And let's make these in bold. All right, so now we have the sales, and I guess I can put these in with commas. I don't want to put dollar signs, but I mean, I could, but I'll just put commas, okay? All right, so now I want to put these in a chart. So now I'm going to say this, and this. Oh, you know what I said? I want to put some blanks in between. Let me cut that, so Control X that one, and I'll put it over here in column D, Control V. Just so that I have gaps in between, so I show you again how to avoid the gaps. Okay, so now I want months. So you click in the monthly sales, which is in cell A21. You drag down to A27. Then you hold your control key in, click on the sales text, which is cell D21, and go down to D27. So now I've selected both columns, but I did not click on the things in between. So now insert and a chart. And now I want that same column chart, but a 3D column. And see, now it's got good information. Click it. That's better. Now let's move it to the right. So the whole thing is called sales. Each column is one of the months, January, February, March, April, May, and June. And the biggest month you can see is February. And here the biggest month is February. Okay, but you can do more. So you have the chart. Then over here on the right side of it, there's some chart elements here. Okay, and here chart styles, and here chart filters. Well, I want to put some more elements on it. Like I want these numbers to actually show up here too. Watch. Click the plus sign, and I'll say I want the data, yeah, right there, data labels. See, data labels. So if I click it, now those things, which are already here, but now each month you can see, oh, February was 69,587. God, April was only 44,982. What happened, right? So that kind of stuff. And now I'm going to end this thing. I'm going to save it though, in case you guys want to see it in class. So let's go to this PC. Let's go up here to desktop. Let's go to MDC again. What am I saying? I want to go to, where are we? Spring 2022 and MDC North. And I'll just put it in my CGS 21. And I'll just leave it the outside. I'll just say Excel introduction. Spreadsheet. That's your mom. Okay, so I'll save that in case you guys ask me to open it up in class. Now I'm going to close that thing down. I'm going to end this so I can go get ready to get my new freezer. And let's see here. I'm going to stop my recording. So I hope you have a great day, guys. I'll see you tonight.